everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be talking about 3 tips that I have for you that you just can't afford to miss when it comes to protective styling your hair. We always go into these protective styles thinking that, my hair is going to grow so much when I have this in. It's going to give my hair a break. This is going to be, the best thing that my hair could get at the moment. So I'm going to do a protective style, right? I'm going to do a sew-in. I'm going to do knotless braids. I'm going to do bohemian braids, butterfly locks, all of these beautiful styles that we have in mind that we want to use as a protective style, but we aren't really using it the correct way. So stay tuned if you want to see my 3 tips on things that you just can't miss when it comes to protective styling your hair. Okay, so tip number 1, make sure that your hair is actually prepared to protective style. Before you go into any protective style where your hair is going to be up for 2 months at least, you want to make sure that you go to your regular stylist and you get a good trim or dusting. Make sure you cut off all of those damaged ends or colored ends that you are trying to get rid of. Go ahead and do that before it's time for you to put your hair up so that your hair goes in with a good foundation and your ends are trimmed. Also, while you're there at your stylist, you want to start looking at getting your treatments before your protective style. So your treatments can be anywhere from moisture treatments, protein treatments, or a balance of the two, depending on what your hair actually needs. Because the last thing that you want to happen is that you go into a protective style, your hair is dry, and while it's braided up, it starts popping, breaking, and you've done more damage than what you had before. So you always want to make sure that your hair is actually ready for that style that you're getting ready to put in. Also, along with this tip, sometimes you just have to realize that now may not be the actual time for me to get a protective style. If your hair is in a very fragile state and you have a lot of damage that you're trying to work through and deal with, this may not be the time for you to get a protective style. So you have to know when to make that decision and say, you know what, I really want these box braids, but right now is just not the time, because if I get them, it may damage my hair even more. So this is all, what I'm saying when it goes into make sure that you're ready for that actual protective style. And in some cases, as I just mentioned, you may not be ready at all. So just keep your natural hair how you've been wearing it, in a bun, in braids, French braids with your natural hair, or just whatever you're doing to try and get it back into good shape. Work on getting that done first before you put any protective styles into your hair. Tip number 2, once you actually have your protective style done, make sure that you do not neglect your hair or the style. Make sure that you're going to your stylist every couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, to get a shampoo. If you're doing it at home, that's completely fine. But you do want to make sure that you are keeping up with that protective style, and you don't think that because you have a protective style now, you have to do nothing to your hair. So definitely want to make sure that you keep up with it. Make sure that you are developing a morning and a night routine. Morning routines for you may be refreshing with some type of, water, oil mixture spray. If you have braids, it may be, just an all alone. Nighttime routines can be anywhere from how you wrap your hair up and how you preserve your hair for the protective style that you have. In my case, I wrap my hair every night just like I normally would with my own hair, and I sleep with a satin bonnet on my hair just to ensure that it stays in place, it's not all over my pillow, and the hair that I do have left out is protected. So that's what that hair wrap does for me. So make sure that you're developing that morning and that night routine for when you're getting these protective styles. Tip number 3 and the last tip is, when you have your protective style, ladies, when it's time for it to come out, take it out. Don't allow your protective style to stay in for 3-4 months because you don't have the time to go and get it done, or it still looks good. Depending on what style you have, that style may not be meant to be in your hair but for 1.5, 2 months, 2.5 at the latest. So you have to know when it's time for your hair to come out and breathe, it's time for that to happen. So make sure that you're listening to your hair. If you have leave out, this is a great way to do that. If you have a sew-in like me and you start feeling all of that new growth and your braids are barely hanging on, it's time for that sew-in to come out. Same thing with knotless braids and box braids. Most times, the thing that makes those braids not last as long as they can last is the fact that we put edge control in our hair, and that causes, you know, dirt build up and things around our edges and around those braids that can cause your hair to break and become very brittle or damaged. So when you start seeing build up and things that are, you know, things that make you say, oh, this doesn't look so good right now, you know, it may be time to refresh. Even if it's just getting the edges done of braids, it's time for you to refresh that area of your hair and update your style. And that is something that, you know, is one of the most important things to me, because sometimes I really do see people that really stretch and stretch and stretch and stretch their protective styles. And there's just, you know, no reason to do that, because you're causing more damage to your hair. You got to remember, the whole point of you doing a protective style was to give your hair a rest, to see growth retention, to see it kind of recover from some of the damage that you have. And if you are not caring for that protective style and the hair that you have left out and the hair underneath it, you're not going to see any length retention. When you take that style out, you're going to end up having to cut more of your hair than you went in with. And at this point, there was no reason for you to get it. So you have to learn how to listen to your hair, take control, know when to get a protective style, know when it's time for it to come out, and how to handle that protective style while it's in your hair for that 2-month time frame or longer. If you enjoyed this video, I definitely hope that you hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, and we will come back later and talk more about protective styling and the do's and don'ts. So I look forward to talking to you all, and I will see you later. Bye.